Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back for a Monday edition of the Steel City Sports Report, where we talk all things Steelers, Penguins, and Pirates. I am your host, Brady Vini, and today's report includes my rant on the current state of the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Penguins continue to play well despite recent outcomes. A Penguins forward was involved in a scary automobile accident before Sunday's game, and more. As always, please be sure to like, comment, and share this video, as well as subscribe to the channel. Now let's get into the first news story of the day. My rant on the current state of the Pittsburgh Steelers. We are now 48 hours removed from another disappointing, yet predictable, blowout playoff loss for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and after some time to process it, here is all that I have to say. This season for the Steelers was a crossroads season. The Steelers had two new quarterbacks, a new offensive coordinator, more additions to the defense, and a new sense of urgency for success in the playoffs. We witnessed one of the best starts to a season for the Steelers in a long time that felt realistic, unlike going 11-0 in 2020. They were 10-3 in Week 14, Mike Tomlin was a Coach of the Year candidate, Justin Fields looked like he was possibly the Steelers' future quarterback before Russell Wilson took the offense to another level, Najee Harris and George Pickens were top 5 in yards at their respective positions, and Cam Hayward and TJ Watt were both bidding for Defensive Player of the Year. Everything was promising before heading into the hurricane, which was the final 4 games of the regular season. Then, like I'm listening to Lose Yourself by Eminem, it was a snapback to reality. Week after week, the black and gold got bludgeoned for the most part, losing their last 4. But all of that would be washed away with just one playoff win against their most heated rival in Baltimore. Instead, the Steelers repeated the sins of not just the last 4 regular season games, but the sins of the past 8 years now of playoff failure, losing 28-14. Starting with the Steelers' offense, they had me thinking that they truly were not going to leave any stones unturned in the first 3 plays of the game. They threw the ball early, got the ball to their offensive lineman who plays tight end Darnell Washington, and brought in Justin Fields on 3rd down. After that brief commercial break of offensive competence, they returned to their crappy, regularly scheduled programming. Predictable play calls, missed assignments, having the wrong personnel on the field, not targeting the right players, etc., etc. All 4 of the Steelers' first half offensive drives ended in a punt, except for the last one, which was a one-play kneel down to go to halftime. I'll leave you to judge whether this stat is more damning to the Steelers' offense or defense, but the Ravens had more first half first downs with 19 than the Steelers' offense had plays ran with 18. Then, like we've seen this happen before, the Steelers found some success in the second half, scoring 2 touchdowns to make the final score appear closer than it actually was. As for the defense, you saw the Ravens go 95 yards on their first offensive drive with ease, and probably thought that the Steelers were going to give up 30-plus points in a playoff game again. Well, you were wrong, because they only gave up 28. From first snap to final whistle, the Ravens bullied and exposed the softest $130 million defense in NFL history. Want to know how much they got dominated? How about being just 1 yard shy of giving up 300 rushing yards? 186 by Derrick Henry, who ran it right up the middle all night long like a hot knife through butter, and 81 from Lamar Jackson, who kept pulling it and running up the right side of the field, making the Steelers look like morons over and over again. By the second quarter, there was no effort whatsoever from the defense, especially from leaders who are getting paid the big bucks like Patrick Queen and Minkah Fitzpatrick. To sum up how the defense played, I'll turn it over to a guy who actually gave his all this entire season in safety Deshaun Elliott, who said post-game, "I know in the past we've played well in the beginning of the season, and then we shit the bed at the end, and same happened this year. Closed the season out on a 5-game losing streak, including the playoffs, so we've got to figure out what's the problem." The 2 players who I feel the worst for here are defensive tackle Cam Hayward and outside linebacker TJ Watt. Cam is an all-time Steelers great who stuck with the organization no matter how dysfunctional, and TJ, even though he completely disappeared in the second half of the season, is well on his way to becoming this generation's Dick Butkus, a legendary Pro Bowl linebacker to never win a playoff game. However, all of this circles back to one person and one person only. Mike Tomlin says he happily totes the bags of this franchise's longest playoff losing streak, and now that baggage gets heavier. We can all now say with conviction that a Mike Tomlin-led team is not a playoff team. After 8 years now and 5 playoff blowout losses in a row, you would think that Tomlin would adapt or change something to have his team prepared for the biggest game of the season. Nope. Instead, in their last 5 playoff games, now including Saturday, the Steelers have been outscored in the first half 126-38. When you have Prime Video commentator Kirk Herbstreit saying this in the second quarter, you know how poorly Tomlin gets his team ready. If I were a Steelers fan, if anything would concern me watching this first half, you're in the postseason. You're getting dominated. I didn't see any fight. I don't see any pushback. It's one thing to lose XOs against a really talented offense, but where the hell is the fight? This is the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's nothing. They're just going through the motions. Before I continue, please give Herbstreit a damn Emmy or something for saying on one of the largest streaming platforms in the world what one of the largest sports fan bases in the world is feeling right now. This team doesn't show any fight, this team doesn't show any pushback, and it's all due to the constant coaching malpractice of Tomlin. He is not a coach that can win a big game anymore. When the stakes are high, he turns into Marvin Lewis or Marty Schottenheimer, who he now shares company with for longest playoff win droughts in NFL history. For a guy who says, we don't live in our fears, he lives in his fears the most. Instead of going for it on fourth down in literally no more than 6 inches, down 7-0 in the second quarter, Tomlin decided to punt, and what happened next? The Ravens went on an 85-yard drive to go up 2 scores. I can go on and on more than I already have of Tomlin constantly driving this team into oncoming traffic. And before people hit me and all of Steelers Nation with the same 2 lines of, you should be happy you're in the playoffs, and if you get rid of Tomlin, some team would pick him up immediately, I don't care. To combat the first line, if you bought a sports car but couldn't drive it, then what's the point of owning it? You can brag about making playoffs all you want, but when you year after year do jack you know what, it doesn't matter anymore. As for some team picking up Tomlin 10 minutes after being let go by the Steelers, fine, that's perfectly okay with me. Some divorces in the NFL benefit both sides. You want an example? Look east of Pittsburgh at the Philadelphia Eagles. Since dropping Andy Reid, they've had 2 successful coaches in Doug Peterson and Nick Sirianni. Sure, Reid has won multiple Super Bowls with the Chiefs, but Peterson won a Super Bowl for Philly, and Sirianni got the Eagles to another with a good chance of doing it again this year. If Tomlin leaves, whether by mutual parting or a trade, the Steelers can hire the hottest new head coaching candidate in Ben Johnson from the Lions, or bring in another veteran coach with a new voice for the team. To wrap up this whole bombardment of Tomlin, I would say fire him because his philosophy is outdated, but we all know that the Steelers are probably going to run it back with the same exact group next year. On Sunday, you had local reporters like Jerry Dulac and national reporters like Adam Schefter saying that there is no indication that the Steelers are moving on from Tomlin this season. These reports come after owner Art Rooney II, nearly a year ago after last season, said, quote, "We've had enough of this. It's time to get wins. It's time to take these next steps." Well, I'm sure Steelers Nation is glad to see that there will be no consequences coming from ownership for spectacularly failing to reach the most basic of goals for this decorated franchise. On top of Tomlin returning, you better prepare for Russell Wilson to be back as well because the Steelers are so obsessed with his veteran leadership. Wilson said post-game, quote, "I love this game. I've got so much more ball left in me," unquote. And if we're being honest here, what team besides Pittsburgh is going to offer Wilson a starting job, let alone Russ wanting to go to his 3rd team in 3 years? They'll probably give Wilson a Baker Mayfield-like 3-year $100 million contract and let a dynamic player and possible future of the franchise in Justin Fields go get a shot elsewhere. Oh, and the last 2 people that fans will be ecstatic to hear coming back are offensive coordinator Arthur Smith and defensive coordinator Terrell Austin. Even though I pray that he takes a head coaching job should he be offered one, Smith said he loves it here in Pittsburgh. He also probably won't take the first head coaching gig thrown his way and end up in another bad situation. So Steelers fans, you better get used to those toss plays. As for Austin, his defense gave up 137 combined points in their last 5 games of the season, yet, like Tomlin, he probably will feel no pressure because he is apparently well-liked around the Steelers facility. Him still being employed after this overrated defense got exposed repeatedly makes you wonder if he has any dirt on higher-ups in the organization. Okay, I think I got it all out of my system. We'll have plenty of time over the offseason to discuss which players will leave and which will come back. I just wanted to focus on the main culprits of this year's as well as the previous 7 years of mediocrity in Pittsburgh. The next time the Steelers decide to lose their last month's worth of games, I hope they are like the Titans, or, I can't believe I'm going to say this, the Browns, in which they are at least going to pick at the top of the draft instead of getting little brothered in the playoffs just to end up picking 21st. Now the Steelers head into the offseason with question marks all around the roster, confidence in coaching at a new low, and the arrow of the overall direction of the franchise pointed down. Thank you for sticking with me through that, and I can't wait to have a similar conversation with you all this time next year. two Steelers make the Associated Press All-Pro First Team. I'm going to try to keep the rest of the segments in today's video short, especially this one considering the vibes around the Steelers right now. Nonetheless, on Friday, Steelers defensive lineman Cam Hayward and kicker Chris Boswell were named first-team All-Pros by the Associated Press. Starting with Hayward, this is his fourth time becoming an AP first-team All-Pro and should feel extra sweet for him after getting snubbed from first-team honors by the NFL's Players Association. As for Boswell, he is now a double first-team All-Pro, getting such recognition from both the NFLPA and the Associated Press. I'll also note that TJ Watt was named a second-team All-Pro by the AP. Like Boswell, he too is a double All-Pro, but on the second team. Once again, congratulations to Cam Hayward, Chris Boswell, and TJ Watt on becoming All-Pros. The Pittsburgh Penguins continue to play well despite recent losses. Over the weekend, the Pittsburgh Penguins had two games against teams they are competing with in the Eastern Conference wildcard race. Like the Steelers, all the Penguins did was lose, but how they lost was at least commendable. On Saturday, the Pens got shut out by the Ottawa Senators 5-0, but they passed the eye test and literally showed the most fight they have had all season. Alex Nedeljkovic not being able to stop a beach ball, being on the wrong side of a couple of lucky bounces, and not finding the twine spelled doom for the Penguins in that one. 24 hours later, the Penguins took the ice again against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Ricard Raquel, unsurprisingly, was the one to bury the first goal of the game for the Pens in the first period. However, an ugly second period for the Pens, almost as ugly as this jerk stealing a puck from a kid and then giving the middle finger salute to the heckling crowd and the kid's mom, gave up a pair of goals for the Lightning to take the lead. That lead for the Bolts didn't last long, as Kevin Hayes tied it with a power play goal, but a bad turnover in the wrong place, at the wrong time, to the wrong person, set the Lightning's Nikita Kucherov on a breakaway to score the game winner. Add on two empty netters, and Pittsburgh fell to Tampa Bay 5-2. These weekend losses now have the Penguins at 1-2-1 on this 5-game homestand. I think it is evident that the Pens are missing Evgeny Malkin right now, who went on IR yesterday, with Philip Tomasino coming off IR. Thankfully, they are still currently 2 points out of a wildcard spot, but playing well over the past week needs to start resulting in more Ws. Also, after watching Nedeljkovic and Jari stink it up this weekend, I don't care how, please get Yoel Blomqvist back in the NHL ASAP. The Pens will wrap up their 5-game homestand tomorrow night against the Seattle Kraken at 7 p.m. A Penguins forward is involved in a scary automobile accident before Sunday's game. A few hours before puck drop of yesterday's Lightning Penguins game, a Pens player was involved in an automobile accident. Per multiple reports, between 2 and 2:30 p.m. on Sunday, and just outside PPG Paints Arena, Penguins forward Michael Bunting was involved in a car accident. Pens general manager Kyle Dubas went outside to inspect the accident, and per Pens head coach Mike Sullivan, all involved were okay. Bunting did not play in the Tampa Bay game, but thankfully he is alright and hopefully won't miss any time. And finally, did the Pittsburgh Pirates just sign O'Neal Cruz 2.0 away from the Los Angeles Dodgers? On Wednesday, January 15th, the MLB's 2025 international signing period will officially open. With that, the Pittsburgh Pirates are expected to be active shoppers in this period, and their first signee is expected to be this player. According to Baseball America's Ben Badler, the Pirates are expected to sign Dominican shortstop Darrell Morel for around $1.7 million. Badler describes Morel as a lanky 6'5" left-handed hitter with big power upside. Morel was set to sign with the Los Angeles Dodgers, but returned to the market amid uncertainty regarding the destination of highly sought-after international right-handed pitcher Roki Sasaki, and the Bucks scooped him up. A tall left-handed hitting shortstop with power who was once affiliated with the Dodgers. Sounds awfully familiar to another guy who is greatly beloved by Pirates fans. Anyways, I wish the Bucks would lose their minds and not just get Morel, but also take Sasaki away from the Dodgers too. But hey, beggars can't be choosers, right? With the Steelers season coming to a disappointing end again, and the Penguins stuck in neutral right now, the Pirates have a golden opportunity to grasp the attention of the Pittsburgh sports market if they just make a few splash moves. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up a Monday edition of the Steel City Sports Report. Again, please be sure to like, comment, and share this video, as well as subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I thank each and every one of you for helping me reach 250 subscribers. I appreciate and love you all, and I will see you guys back here tomorrow with some more Pittsburgh sports news.